about 9 months after I had graduated college, and I was sitting down with a good friend of mine, and we were discussing what we were up to, things that we were working on. And I must admit from the very beginning that I'm a dreamer. I have pie-in-the-sky ideas. I have wild, harebrained thoughts. And I shoot for the moon more times than I don't. I'm a visionary. I chase after things that I cannot see. And that being said, I was thinking about applying for a project that was really out of my reach. It was in California, there was a brand new airport terminal space. And they were looking to commission a large-scale sculptural artwork that was going to be suspended in their space. Now, I didn't have the credentials to even dream about this piece or to even think about it. And here I had fallen in love. And maybe you've had the opportunity to sit and talk with somebody who has really fallen off the deep end, where they seem a bit crazed, maybe not firing on all cylinders, and you listen to them and you share their energy, but you're a touch concerned about their sanity. And that was me. I had stars in my eyes, and I had really fallen in love with this project. I had dreamt up this sculpture that was going to be 100 feet long. It was going to span this airport terminal. It was going to be a flock of birds, and it was going to soar through the space. It was going to be colorful, and it was going to speak about how ideas are spread from one place to the next, and the history of aviation. It was going to be awesome. My friend looks at me and says, "You're really serious about this, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to apply. This is great. I've got this dream. I got this idea." They said, "I think that there's some things that you haven't really thought about. You're really young. You're just out of college. You're inexperienced. You've never even built anything that's suspended before. All of your work is freestanding and is bolted to the ground. This thing's like 100 feet long. Are you out of your mind? What are you thinking? How are you going to build it? How are you going to move it? It's in California. How are you going to suspend it?" And I had thought of all of these things, but to me, they were minor details. My friend was like, "Stop. You got to figure out how you're going to overcome all of these things before you move forward." And to me, I had the idea. I had the dream, and that was all that I needed. And so had I really focused on all of those things that were standing in my way, those obstacles, I never would have had any energy to dream and to give this idea wings. So I took this wild idea and I ran with it with energy and gusto, and I took my chances with the odds. So this project was incredibly challenging. I learned more than I thought I ever would. It was hard work. I had incredible help and even better mentorship. I had embarrassing stumbles and made incredible mistakes along the way. But I took this idea that I had, and I was bound and determined to give it life and to give it energy. I, like many speakers here today, have a thirst and a hunger for making real change in the world. My artwork is a vehicle for conversation, is a platform for trying new ideas and new experiments, and oftentimes serves as a beacon of hope and renewal in cities. Now, I grew up in rural Iowa, among the hardworking middle class, and it was in this environment that my love for working with my hands started early. We had a garden, and we cultivated the land, and we were always outdoors working together as a family. And it was never that like, "Oh, outside again, working on vegetable patch." It was always like, we're going to go outside, we're going to work, and we're going to have fun. And so this idea of working hard and also working towards something that was bigger than ourselves is something that gives me great, great fulfillment. Now, you may have heard amazing stories about kids that have exceptional artistic talent that seem to kind of ooze it from the time that they were born, and everybody knows that they're going to be an incredible musician or a fantastic artist or a dancer. I was not that child. It was not evident to anybody around me that I was going to end up being an artist one day. My creativity was small. I knew that I saw the world differently. Things that captivated my attention and my imagination were things that other kids really weren't interested in. And I found myself kind of lost in my own thoughts often. I knew I had a wild imagination. I remember getting off the bus and with my two brothers and walking home on a summer day, and our lane would be full of grasshoppers. And as I walked down the lane, I would wonder about these grasshoppers. These are the things that captured my imagination as a kid. And I would wonder, do these grasshoppers, do they know each other? Are they friends? Are they family? Are they having a good day? Do they know that it's incredibly dangerous to be playing around in a road? Why don't they fly more since they have wings, but they tend to just kind of walk around and hop? These sort of things kind of captured my attention. And I would find my way into our apple orchard, and I would climb up to my favorite tree, and I would just be munching away, lost in my own thoughts. My mom always asked my brothers, because they went straight home every day, "Your sister did get off the bus today, didn't she?" They said, "Oh, yeah, she's somewhere out there." And so it's that wild imagination that I have that's really carried into my work and helped me to dream wildly. Now, as a young person, I had many interests. And so when it came down to figuring out which career path I would choose, I was interested in teaching. I was interested in medicine. I was interested in the mission field. What I knew to be true to myself is I had a heart for people, and I wanted to create real change. And here I am, I'm an artist. Every day looks different for me. Some days I'm writing and model making. Other days I'm in the studio, bending and forming and building sculpture. Other days I'm working with the community to build a large scale or a small scale sculpture. Other days I am sitting down with a client across the country, and we're having a brainstorming session about how a piece of artwork can really transform and renew and revitalize an area of town. On other days, I'm lost in my quiet solitude and figuring out where I'm headed with my next idea. But what I struggle with most often and what I wrestle with is justifying my career. Here I am, I have a heart for the world, and I'm in a career field that has a notorious reputation for being egotistical, self-centered, a career that lifts up the individual, oftentimes as an end product. So I often say, what on earth are you doing? Does this make sense? What you're doing and what you're trying to do in the world, and you're taking a really strange path to get to where you want to go. And so I fight hard to do things differently, to view my art and its place in the world differently. And I try to really capture that vision and work on that every day. Now, that vision and that heart for the world and my work started off in college. As a college student, I was making really large-scale work. And starting to take up a decent amount of studio space that was supposed to be kind of a collaborative, everybody used the space. And so my professor approached me and says, "Hey, Beth, I think it's time to find maybe a home for your work." And this was really a pivotal point for me. This was the first time I had thought about, oh my goodness, the world outside of this vacuum that I've been creating. Is my work applicable to the world? How does it speak to the world? Or how does the world speak to it? And so I decided, okay, all right, I'll start to find some homes for these sculptures. And my first phone call, of like most kids when they're young, is to your parents. Hey, Mom and Dad, I've got these giant sculptures. Do you think we could change our yard into a sculpture garden? And they're like, yeah, Beth, make some phone calls and get back to us on that idea. And so I did, and I started to travel with my work. I went to different cities across the country and started to show my work in temporary outdoor sculpture exhibitions. And what this opportunity really allowed me to do is to talk to people. Whether it was me moving a giant thing in the back of my truck at a gas station and people saying, what on earth is that thing? And what are you doing with it? And where's it going? Or to people in a community that this art exhibition was taking place. To people who were in the city as arts advocates or members of city council. So I got to talk to a wide range of people about their heart, their vision for arts, whether they cared about it or not. And what that gave me is a desire to say, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to create artwork for people who have a deep appreciation for artwork and people who could care less. People who can afford amazing works of art and people who can't. I want everybody to have that experience with artwork. Now, I make really large-scale work. It often towers above my head and takes on a life of its own. I am the small pink blob in this picture at the very bottom. And I work with metal because we have an understanding with one another. To me, metal is malleable, it's flexible, it's forgiving. And most people look at metal and say, it is just really strong. And it definitely is really strong. But I've gotten to know it in a way that really lends itself to all these other qualities that really work well with me. Now, when I'm thinking about a project, I approach a project that tends to be playful, experimental, and courageous. This piece is entitled Wild, and it is a family of bears, 3 bear cubs and a mama bear. And it's in this park in California, and it has transformed this space into a space of wild imagination and interesting encounter. Now, this park is located next to an elementary school, and I got a chance to meet with these kids and the neighborhood kids. And we got in some interesting conversation about these bears and how these bears have really become a staple part of their day. They would walk around and they would tell me the names of the bears. Well, that over there, that's Lightning Bolt, and he's really sweet. And every day I feed him snacks, and we get along. I tell him about my day. And that over there, that's Tinkerbell, and she's really sweet, but sometimes she gets in a really bad mood. And they'd have all these personalities and all these stories about these bears that they were not my creation. The people had come to them and experienced them in their own way. Other times, what people in a city needs more than anything else is a beacon of hope, something to draw their eyes elsewhere, something to remind them that where they are isn't going to define them or confine them. This piece is entitled Perseverance, and it stands at the heart of an urban renewal happening in Newark, New Jersey. And it's this image of a bird busting free of this cityscape. And to me, the idea of a bird in flight is an idea of such great hope. A soaring bird doesn't have any sort of boundaries or guidelines. It is just this beautiful image of a horizon filled with such great hope. And other times, I like to work with a city to really create a piece of artwork with them. And this piece is entitled Crescendo, and it's at the Indianapolis Center for the Arts. And this is really a collaborative piece, and it's a piece about storytelling. The piece is covered with thousands of pieces of blue tile, and the people in Indianapolis came together and actually helped me attach all of these tiles. Now, I had traveled across the country, and I'd spoken with over 4,000 people. My youngest participant was 3, and my oldest was 103. So I was able to span 100 years of stories. And what I asked all of them was, tell me something you've discovered. Simplify it down to a word or a phrase or a picture, and write it on one of these tiles. And the piece was truly powerful. I was astounded at what people had shared with me and what they had found important along their journeys. Some of them are funny, some of them were dark, some of them were playful, and some of them were off the cuff. Now, what I do has never been easy, and it doesn't continue to be, and I hope that it never is. It's hard work. Oftentimes, my body's exhausted and doesn't want to go on. It says, why are we doing this? I have chosen the lens of which I view myself and the world and my work. And I take full responsibility for it because it's of my own creation, and it is incredibly hopeful. If you allow it, the odds will always look like they're stacked against you. Thank you.